The early portion of 2020, namely the first 2 months or so, I thought was going to be action-packed with a bunch of major PlayStation 4 game releases like The Last of Us Part 2. Unfortunately, with a lot of game delays, it's left PlayStation 4 gamers, to some, a lack of games to play. However, there have been some games in this early portion of 2020 that I think you should definitely have your eyes on, that you should have played, and that's what I want to highlight in today's video. Specifically, 6 super underrated games that you need to play from the early portion of 2020 that have come out for the PlayStation 4. A lot of games to get to, so let's just get right into it, and I want to kick things off with the latest Darksiders game, but it's a little bit different in Darksiders Genesis. It's not your typical Darksiders title, this one done by Airship Syndicate, once again published by THQ Nordic. It's an action-adventure, dungeon-crawling, hack-and-slash title, reminiscent of a game like Diablo. Genesis, as the title of the game would suggest, gives players their first look at the world of Darksiders before the events of the original game. Furthermore, it introduces the fourth and last Horseman and Strife, and on top of that, you've got cooperative gameplay for the first time in the history of the franchise. The game was very enjoyable. It originally came out on Steam, and it was well received over there. It made the transition to PlayStation 4 on Valentine's Day, and it was well received on there as well. Unfortunately, not a lot of people actually checked out the game, even though it's a very fun, action-packed adventure. You'll tear your way through the hordes of demons, angels, and everything in between on the way to hell and back with guns blazing and sword swinging. Genesis gives players their first look at the world of Darksiders before the events of the original game. And I don't know how in tune you guys are with the Darksiders story and lore, but Darksiders actually has a pretty complex narrative attached to it, and Genesis adds to that as well. And if you play Darksiders 1, 2, and 3, you know that the narrative does definitely have some legs to it. The game will have you swap between the powerful swordsman, war, and strife instantly in frantic single-player gameplay, but you can also wreak havoc with a friend in 2-player cooperative mode, and you'll experience a brand new story campaign that takes place before the original Darksiders, exploring the origin of the 7 Seals. A lot of fun to be had, and it was released at a budget price point of $29.99. Even if you're not a fan of Darksiders, if you're a fan of dungeon-crawling action-adventure games with a lot of mayhem, you got a buddy to play the game with as well, even better, because there's a lot of fun to be had with Darksiders Genesis, and I would definitely recommend at the very least add it to your wish list for now, and down the line when it does go on sale, pick it up then, but already for that $30 budget price point, I do think it's a good buy. Next up, we have 505 Games' Journey to the Savage Planet. This is one that's been looked forward to for quite a while, and Journey to the Savage Planet is a game with a lot of layers to it. It's an adventure game and a survival title. However, you can also look at it as a little bit of a Metroidvania game. It's got a lot of different gameplay mechanics. In the game, you're tasked to explore ARY-26, a colorful planet inhabited by various alien life forms, and right away, when you look at this game visually, it's got such a pleasant and inviting art style that is just a joy to look at. Your main task in the game, and what's propelling the gameplay, is to catalog various alien flora and fauna, collect resources needed to craft new items and upgrades such as jetpacks and grappling hooks, which enable the players to reach previously inaccessible areas, so you understand where the Metroidvania gameplay elements are coming in, but definitely not presented in the style of a Metroidvania title like, you know, the 2D style of games. It's definitely a bigger, more open game, and it's an upbeat first-person adventure. Again, harkening back to that art style, this is a game that's very inviting, it's very upbeat, and it's set in a bright and colorful alien world with a lot of weird and wonderful creatures, and a lot of those creatures you see is one of the most engaging elements of the game, because you see some quirky creatures, and then the environments are very nice to look at as well. Is the game perfect? No, but it definitely has a lot to like, and if you are into these styles of games, if you have a buddy to play with, Journey to the Savage Planet is even better. Again, one of the most colorful games that we've seen on the PlayStation 4, and Typhoon Studios and 505 Games did a pretty good job with this title. Next up, here's a game that I constantly went to bat for leading up to its release. A lot of you guys might have thought I was overhyping it, but Vanquish finally got a remaster on the PlayStation 4, got a second lease on life, and if you did not check it out for $19.99, Vanquish is absolutely worth a buy. Now, Vanquish came out alongside Bayonetta as a part of their 10-year anniversary. Bayonetta, I feel like everybody knows about. Bayonetta gets the respect that it deserves. However, Vanquish is a platinum Games title that I understand why back in October of 2010 it didn't get the recognition that it deserved. It was a $60 release and it wasn't a lengthy game. You could complete it in 4 to 6 hours, and for a $60 game, 4 to 6 hours of gameplay just isn't gonna fly. However, with a remaster released in 2020, you've got some improvements in there, and best of all, you've got a budget price point, $20. Many might say that's the price the game should have come out at. I'm not here to argue that. It's just that for $20, Vanquish is absolutely worth it. If you don't know what the game is, take the Platinum Games gameplay, the high-octane, action-packed gameplay, take a third-person shooter, mash that together, and then you've got one of the most zaniest games that you're gonna come across. Now, the story isn't anything to write home about. Vanquish's story is honestly a little bit comical at times, but the gameplay is why you're playing the game, and Vanquish has some of the most exhilarating gameplay that you're gonna find in any video game on the PlayStation 4. That is not hyperbole at all. Vanquish is that crazy of a game, and I would even say it takes the Platinum Games gameplay chaos and heightens that a little bit more. A lot of explosions, a lot of chaos. Vanquish is just a great game. Yes, it's a little bit on the shorter side, but sometimes you want a game that's short, action-packed, it gets to the point. Vanquish has no filler, it's all killer, and for $20, it's a great buy. And even if you don't want to pick it up now, I implore you, at least add it to your wish list, and then down the line, once it's down to, $10 or south of $10, pick it up then. There's also some beat-em-up elements to the game. The game's great, and I just cannot say enough good things about it. Alright, next up, for those of you that want a high-quality cooperative title, want to give a recommendation to Zombie Army 4 Dead War, which went really under the radar. It released back in early February, and it is actually already seeing a discount on the PlayStation Store. It's 35% off as the weekly deal for $32.49. It released at $50, but in the game, Hitler's Hordes are back for more in the spine-chilling shooter from the makers of Sniper Elite 4, and if you know Sniper Elite, you know you've got some gruesome kills, and that is absolutely represented in Zombie Army 4 Dead War. You've got epic weapons, a harrowing new campaign for 1 to 4 players, and this is the kind of game that, yes, you can play it solo, but I highly, highly recommend that you pick this game up with a couple of friends, because you are in for a thrilling experience if you are playing with a couple of buddies. There's a level of challenge to it that's good enough, but it's also kept relatively rewarding, and it's not like it's cripplingly challenging or anything like that. You've got genre-defining ballistics, a build the Slayer that suits you, and harness the power of fire, lightning, and divine essence as you upgrade your guns to fight back against the dead. When the horde surrounds you, tear them apart with enhanced melee combat and flesh-rendering takedown moves. It's a great game. Maybe that $32 price point, even with it seeing a little bit of a discount, is a little bit too high for you. However, I think the game is very good, and for everything that you get, especially if you play with a couple of friends, it is worth it, but no qualms if you decided to add it to your wish list. Pick it up down the line, because if you're picking up a game like this, chances are you've got to convince a couple of buddies to pick it up as well, and maybe $32 being dropped 4 ways is going to be a little bit much, but definitely once it's south of $20, check it out then. Next up, here's a game that's been a mainstay on PC gaming for a while, and that is Kentucky Route Zero. Yes, it has finally wrapped up, and it has arrived to the PlayStation 4. Kentucky Route Zero is a story-driven, point-and-click atmospheric title, and it's a magical, realist adventure game about a secret highway running through the caves beneath Kentucky and the mysterious folk who travel it. You're gonna meet some quirky characters, and it has a very, very interesting story. The game was originally published episodically over a span of years. The game now includes all 5 acts along with the interludes, which were originally published separately. It has also been localized for a variety of different other languages, and it's a magical, realist adventure game in 5 acts featuring a haunting electronic score and a suite of hymns and bluegrass standards recorded by the Bedequit Ramblers. Rendered in a striking visual style that draws as much from theater, film, and experimental electronic art as it does from history of video games, this is a story of unpayable debts, abandoned futures, and the human drive to find community. A lot of cool elements in Kentucky Route Zero. It did have some mixed reception, however, overall, I think the positive definitely outweighs the negative in this one, and if you're into more minimalistic style of games, point-and-click adventures, very narrative-heavy games, this is going to be right up your alley, and again, a very interesting and unique art style out of this one that has been influenced by a lot of other art mediums, not just video games from the past, but definitely give that a look, or at the very least, as I always suggest, add it to your wish list. And lastly, a very quirky PlayStation Portable title got remastered onto the PlayStation 4 earlier this year, and that is Patapon 2 Remastered. Patapon 2 was a game that was incredibly well received on the PSP. I believe IGN gave it like a 9.5, and that was coming from Greg Miller. I remember Greg Miller talked so highly about the game that I ended up buying Patapon 2 on my PSP way back in the day, and I had a great time with Japan Studios title as well. Patapon is just incredibly cutesy, it's incredibly charming, it's got some strategy elements in there as well. Shipwrecked in a new and strange land, the Patapons will depend on you, the mighty one, to lead them safely through this perilous new adventure. The beat of your mystical war drums will guide your brave tribe through this new land as they come face to face with a deadly new rival tribe, encounter a mysterious and powerful Patapon hero, and uncover the ruins of Patapopolis, an ancient place long spoken of by the Patapons. With this version, you've got the experience to play the game in native 4K on your PlayStation 4 with a compatible 4K display that is PS4 Pro only, or you can enjoy it in 1080p on your base PS4. And obviously, it's not seeing a bunch of major upgrades, but the game was already so great that just going back and being able to experience the game at $14.99, I do think it's definitely worthwhile. And even if you don't pick it up now, this is a game that I very much do see going on sale, maybe south of $10 relatively soon, just a game to keep on your radar. So that's gonna conclude this video. Again, while I wouldn't say that 2020 at this point has brought with it a lot of heavy hitters, there are a lot of games that are definitely going under the radar, and that's unfortunate. But games like Patapon 2, Darksiders Genesis, Journey to the Savage Planet, Kentucky Route Zero, Zombie Army 4 Dead War, and Vanquish, they're all games that are absolutely worth your time and your money. So that's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.